This episode is brought to you by Opill, the first over-the-counter daily birth control pill available in the U.S. Opill is FDA approved, full prescription strength, and estrogen-free. Plus, there's no prescription needed. Finally, the days of needing a prescription for birth control are over. Opill is available online and at most major retailers. Take control of your health and reproductive journey with Opill. Birth control in your control. Use code BIRTHCONTROL for 25% off your first month of Opill at Opill.com.
I kind of tell it, like, how do you get out of your own head? Because we get in our own head and we're like, oh, I'm crazy busy. I can't do this. And it starts this vicious cycle of like, you just feel frazzled versus being able to kind of take a step back sometimes. Like, okay, like, let me triage. Let me put a system in place.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, here with the lovely Brie Tucker.
Why, hello, everybody. How are you?
I was actually at a thrift store in Tucson this weekend and I saw a Kansas City Chiefs jersey. I was about to take a picture for you, but I'm like, Brie has so many. It wasn't a jersey. It was like a jacket, like an athletic jacket that just said Chiefs right there. It was
I don't know if I'd wear an athletic jacket.
Yeah.
You know me, I kind of live in my my Floggin' Molly black sweatshirt. Like, you know, things get dicey in this household when Audrey tries to steal it. And I'm like, bring it back. No, it's mine.
She can't steal that. Yes.
She can't steal it. No.
Well, we are interviewing a great guest today who is so fun and so lovely. Her name is Dr. Darria Long. She is an emergency physician, national bestselling author of Mom Hacks, regular health expert on CNN, ABC, and other networks, and the founder of No Panic Parenting, which is all about baby-proofing your home. She helps moms keep their children safe and prevent injuries and illnesses, help them know what to do if and when those do happen, and give them peace of mind. Plus, on top of that, she's a mom to a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 15-month-old. And we talk about how to navigate the overwhelm as a mom and how you could take Dr. Darria's strategies from being an ER doc and put them to work in your home. So we hope you enjoy this episode, and let's get on with the show. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. Do you drink coffee, Dr. Darria?
Oh, I drink coffee. Yes, honey. Yes. That's why when you said you hadn't had coffee, I was like, do I need to come check your pulse? Like, did you, my face probably switched into doctor mode. I was like, are you okay?
I was seriously thinking, because I had to get off a live in our balance community and then come here, and I'm like, I have 5 minutes. Can I run to Starbucks and back in 5 minutes? And I'm like, no, I
girl,
cannot.
We wouldn't have minded if you had. You couldn't.
Yeah.
Go right now. It's okay. Brie and I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. I got it. It's more of like a craving than like a need. I just have the craving for the bitter. Because I do black cold brew. That's what I do.
Whoa. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's no judgment. So, go. It's okay.
It's crazy. I never drink coffee until I had kids. And then, I got to tell you, that first one, not sleeping for 3 years, definitely makes you realize that coffee is a good thing. Coffee is a good thing.
It's a good thing. My husband doesn't drink it. And
Neither does mine.
You know what? I would say that inherently there's something about me that doesn't trust people who don't drink coffee. But he's a good guy, so maybe I have to. But before that, I was
Yeah.
Like, who are you people?
My husband's the one who got me drinking straight black coffee, straight black. I started out as a caramel macchiato, frappuccino girl, and then he slightly moved. I mean, he's the one who goes and gets his pour over coffee at our neighborhood coffee shop and drinks it. He's totally a coffee connoisseur, and he usually makes the cold brew, but there's always a day during the week where we run out and we don't have one, and I need to go get my own. And this is the day that I'm like, anyways.
That is just not acceptable.
Yeah, it's not acceptable. Where are you located, Dr. Darria?
I'm in Atlanta.
How are you doing in Atlanta?
Y'all, it was crazy. And it was literally tale of two cities. we were fine where we live. We lost internet. Like, you know, like of all the things, it was very bougie problem just to lose internet. A number of schools, their football fields were flooded to the goalposts. I had friends who have videos of their garage flooded, and literally their freezer is floating down their street. Another friend, a guy got stuck in a car and they like had to go in a canoe to like try to rescue this person. It was wild. It's still like, it doesn't rise to the devastation we're seeing in Florida, North Carolina, where it's just awful. So in Atlanta, it was just, you know, a lot of just way more water than we expected, but we were pretty fortunate relatively.
Yeah, it was insane, the storm that just went through. And for everyone listening to this, we're recording it on October 1st, right after Helene came through. Yeah, which is why we're talking about Atlanta. Yeah, everyone should know. But
exactly.
You have 3 kids, correct? A 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 15-month-old.
Yes, we got this range. Yes.
Man, you got it all.
I know.
Going into the teen, and then the 7-year-old that is doing everything by themselves, and then the 15-month-old that's trying to chase after them.
Exactly. And my 10-year-old reminds me every day that she is practically a preteen going into there. It's like, where did we go? And then there's like my 15-month-old who's learning to walk, and he runs around kind of like a little older man, and he sees you coming after him, and he bends over more and runs fast, walks faster. So yes, it's all range.
Oh my gosh, I love the 15-month-old age for like a few minutes, and then I'm like, I'm exhausted, guys. Thank you.
I know. Then they're like thrashing their body, and you're just trying to hold them, and they're like hitting you in the teeth with their head. Yeah. Then you're like, okay.
And like, you're an emergency room physician, and you appear on national media. How often are you at the hospital? Just to get a look at
what
your
does your
whole
schedule look like?
Life.
Yeah, no, there's no regular day. Like there's no regular ER shift. So I guess I got used to it. There's just like no regular week for me. Some weeks you're in the ER, some weeks I'm not, you know, it's just a combo. Some days I'm like filming from our sim center, which is underneath the emergency department. Some days I'm working in the emergency department. We learned you can't film in the ER. Obviously, it's a little too unpredictable. Yeah, I was room mom year for last year, and they like tell you about meetings. Like they tell you like a week before, and you're like, oh great, well I have an ER shift. So it was like the very first one. They're like, if you only attend one, I was like, okay, I'll come in for 3 minutes if I can. So I like jump into the Zoom, and these poor scarred parents. It was kindergarten. And it was for my second child. So I was used to the school, but these new parents, these new baby kindergarten parents, new to the school, I'm trying to run it. And you can hear in the background, they're like, code blue, trauma, you know, something stuck someplace it shouldn't be. Like, and all these, and I was like, gotta go, guys.
Someplace it shouldn't be.
Kindergarten is great. Talk soon.
Good luck to you all. See you later. That's
Any
a lot of you.
No.
A lot is coming at you all at once. And I think like a lot of parents feel that way too, like balancing the work and the responsibilities as a mom, and even like responsibilities too that are put on us as women. Like you being asked to be room parent. Were there men as room parents?
Well, it's called room parent. I don't think I've not seen a male do it recently.
Yeah, because it used to be room mom.
But, you know, exactly. I felt really bad after that meeting, and I was like, oh, I just, you know, scarred these people. Like, I didn't do a good job, and I couldn't stay. I was like, I gotta go take care of the ER. Like, I made a face, and then a face appearance. And actually, one of the other moms was like, hey, you just showed all these other parents. It's totally fine. It is totally fine if you're balancing 30 things, and that you don't come on screen looking perfect with your time carved out, whatever. We're all balancing. She's like, you just gave everybody permission to do that. I was like, perfect then. Good. Okay.
I love that.
I think that's the point of this podcast too, right?
It is. But show up the best you can. Go on.
It's so interesting though, because I think as women, like we are so used to showing up the best that we can. I think it's more acceptable for women to show up the best they can than, for instance, for men. Because I know something that my husband tells me, and something that I'm pushing through gradually, is that he works the best if he could focus on one thing at a time. And I'm like,
yeah, right.
You would drown as a mother. But on the flip side, he does take on more than I have seen in if I were to add together all the dads that I know. He takes on more than the average dad. But
I just think it's a male mentality. It's like men get to focus on one thing at a time, while women are kind of expected to.
Yeah, we're not given that grace.
Get all the rest.
Yeah, we're not given that grace by any means.
Yeah. It's true. My husband equally is like, he is a wonderful partner. We realize, like, especially like in the middle of the night, if I get woken up by the baby, I can't fall back asleep. Bryce can fall asleep standing up. So he kind of by default takes care of the baby at night, which is just a gift. So he does that because he can take care of the baby, change all the stinky diapers, put the baby back down, and they're like, out, he's cold out and sleep. But at the same time, if he has the kids, I was in Orlando this past weekend at the American Academy of Pediatrics, and he has the kids and he's balancing all things. It makes him really anxious, and to a point I'm like, yeah, like what you're talking about is like kind of a normal Wednesday afternoon for what I'm handling. Or like I was in the ER working a shift, and like Bryce was like literally on campus for a school thing, and the school nurse was calling me. I was like, he's even there. I'm working. Like, why are you people calling me? But it's
I'm sorry. That's so true.
It's so true. And you know what? I enjoy doing it. So I want to be in the know of those things too. And I think you do see different family dynamics, and sometimes dads are handling more. Like at our school, I do see a lot of times. I have one of my very best girlfriends. Her husband comes to a lot of the events. He works too, but she works crazy hours. And it's just like, sometimes it's her husband, sometimes it's a grandparent coming in. And I hope that there's more forgiveness. I am missing my daughter's big presentation tomorrow at school because I'm in the ER. It was supposed to be last Friday, and I had blocked my day for it. I was going to be going in and serving them lunch afterwards, really excited. And then Hurricane Helene came through, and they canceled school. And they scheduled it for tomorrow when I'm in the ER, and I couldn't move it. So I'm going to miss it, but I asked them, they're going to film it for me. And my mom's actually driving down from Chattanooga. She's going to go. Mom is going to volunteer and serve the food. And my daughter, I got it all straightened out before my daughter got out of school. So as soon as she got out of school, I was like, Mommy won't be there, but Mom and June will be there. And she's like, cool.
It's a lot of coordinating though, man.
It is a lot of coordinating. Yeah. But the good thing is, like, it's okay. And I've been able to tell my friends, hey, I won't be there. Watch my daughter. Say hi to my mom. She looks exactly like me. So if you see a woman who looks like me wandering around not knowing anybody, please say hi. And I know our village will step in and do that.
Yeah. That is okay. You mentioned the village. And I think this really goes into great about something that you talk about a lot, is how to be unoverwhelmable. And I want to get into your tips right after this. Okay.
Green Chef in Every Plate is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. I love switching between the brands, and now our listeners can enjoy all the brands at a discount with Joanne and me.
Oh my gosh, it is really time to just step out of the recipe rut and make something fun without having to shop for those ingredients where you like only use a tablespoon of it and you have to buy the whole thing. HelloFresh has those pre-portioned ingredients, which mean less food waste.
And seriously, with the holiday season right around the corner, I am always looking for ways to have less stress. And one of my favorite hacks is to get HelloFresh because it makes mealtime so easy, hassle-free. Everything's delivered. I don't have to hit the grocery store for the umpteenth time that week.
Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free NGM. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free NGM.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Starbucks iced apple crisp oat milk shaken espresso. Made with blonde espresso, creamy oat milk, and spiced apple flavors. It's an icy crisp sip you can enjoy all autumn long. Order ahead on the Starbucks app.
Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, FDA approved for over 20 years. So, talk to your specialist to see if Botox Cosmetic is right for you.
For full prescribing information, including boxed warning, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
Remember to ask for Botox Cosmetic by name. To see for yourself and learn more, visit BotoxCosmetic.com. That's BotoxCosmetic.com.
So Dr. Darria, something you talk about is being unoverwhelmable. And I have to say, like, I was immediately drawn to this topic because overwhelm is huge, especially with the things we have to deal with, the things that you just described about having to coordinate everybody to step in for you. I mean, I don't want to say burden, but the expectations of moms are just so huge. So when you talk about overwhelm, let's first like really define that. Like, what do you see overwhelm as being?
Okay, so I see overwhelm not as just being busy or things to do. It is when you have your demands, the things you need to do or should do or think you should do, it's all of those things exceed what you're physically or capable of doing. Then you got overwhelmed, when you got that gap. And the reality is, when we are in that stage, when we are running in that like negative delta, when we really can't do all the things we're putting on ourselves, we're not at our best. That's when we're quote unquote crazy busy. Like I did a TED talk on crazy busy, mainly because I thought, how does it happen in the ER? In the ER, we always kind of have more to do than we can do. How do we not lose it? How do we keep our cool? Because there it's life or death. And then how do we extrapolate that to do that in our own lives so we can have that same mentality?
Yeah, I see it as like education too. When I was a teacher, there was more to do than I can physically do. The problem I see at home though is like with my kids, I had that, like when I say with my kids, I'm talking with my students. With my students, I had love for them, but I also had an emotional detachment from them, where I could logically look at the things that I could let go of and I'll be like, they'll be fine. They can figure this out themselves. With my own children, it's almost like I feel like I'm failing them as a parent if I let go of those things. So getting over that emotional kind of tie that we have with our kids is so hard. Like, what do you see that? You're nodding your head no.
No, I'm nodding because I'm like feeling it so much. Yeah. I realized that in medical school when I was a med student, I'd be like, and do you have any other complaints?
Oh
and
my God.
Medical teacher was like, you gotta stop shaking your head. You gotta stop.
No.
Do you? Any
do you
questions?
need help? Do you need a blink?
Yeah, so, but that's not what I meant there. So actually, when I talk about being unoverwhelmable, I kind of finish with that point. And I want to start with that point because I think that's so valuable. So there's kind of like three categories. You know, one, you want to be unoverwhelmable. One is learning how to triage. We triage in the ER all the time. We can talk more about that. Another is developing systems, automating as much as you can, putting everything on repeat, all the things. A third is kind of mental. And this comes down to what we put on ourselves, our expectations of ourselves, our expectations of how we are performing. So I kind of tell it like, how do you get out of your own head? Because we get in our own head and we're like, I'm crazy busy. I can't do this. And it starts this vicious cycle of like, you just feel frazzled versus being able to kind of take a step back sometimes. Like, okay, like let me triage. Let me put a system in place. How can I do this? And part of triage is sometimes letting, we can talk about triage later, but it's like letting go of stuff too. In the ER, I do not do everything. You know, if a kid comes in and they want me to ear infection, yes. Pneumonia, yes. You know, car accident, yes. Want me to analyze your growth chart? Nope. Want me to take a whole bunch of estrogen and testosterone hormone levels for you? Nope. Not because those are not important, but that's just not my thing. That's not, if I do those things, then I have no hope of taking care of the most important things. So that in triage is really important, is letting go of some things. But then the last part is acknowledging that sometimes you're not going to do it well. Some days you will not be at your very best. And they talk about this as a rupture and repair kind of mentality, knowing that none of us are perfect. We all have too much on our plates. And psychological studies something happens and you yell at your child for like really no fault of their own. Like we've all had it. You were mad about this over here. Your child happened to do something and you ended up yelling at them. Or maybe they did something you yelled. Studies show that if that happens, that's the rupture. If you go back and you repair and you say, hey, mommy did this. I'm sorry. I'm actually stressed about this other thing. Not your fault at all. That was totally on me. I'm really sorry. Can we go read a book? Actually, that repair, you're repairing the relationship in such a way that it's actually stronger than if you'd never lost it in the first place. So
I love the rupture and repair. I use that all the time. And it also teaches kids how to repair their own relationships and that they're allowed to make mistakes as well if they see that their parents make mistakes too.
Yes,
exactly.
That's so huge because when we try to show perfection, then they start thinking that we never have issues and that we can do it just right. And that causes some toxic expectations.
Yeah. Let's get into the triage a little bit because I see it in the ER and I saw it in my classroom. It was very easy to triage. It was very easy to be like, okay, nope, this is what we're doing right now. This is what we have planned. At home, it's a little difficult. I almost don't have a defined role at home as I did in the classroom, and as I'm sure that you like don't have either as you do in the ER. Like, how do you take those triage skills and move them into the home?
Okay, so it's a practice. And I find that it's helpful to discuss it with your partners, your friends. Like if you're doing it at work with your colleagues, when I talk about this, the downside is if you discuss it with your partner may come and remind you of it sometimes. Like my husband will, so I talk red, yellows, and greens. And sometimes I'm focused. He's like, is that really a red? And I'm like, how dare you use my own philosophies on me? But so downside and upside, red is immediately important. Yellow is important, but not immediately so. And this is the extrapolation from the air. We use these colors. And then green is minor, gotta be done, but it's actually the kind of stuff that has to be done, but will get in the way of your reds and yellows. So my reds, I'm launching No Panic Parenting, of course, in a couple weeks. Everything related to that is kind of a red. You know, for me, actually getting in, you know, a 30-minute walk every day, that's in my reds. You know, being able to, I do carpool to pick up my older kids. That's a red. Like these are all things that are important to me. And the yellows, everybody can kind of self-prioritize. And then there's the greens. Greens are send $8 on Venmo to a coach's gift for baseball and $7 for a coach's gift for football. And hey, sign up for this volunteer activity and buy this costume piece and all these little things, rent this item, whatever. It comes down to the reality is in today's world, when we're feeling crazy busy, it's because we are mentally triaging everything as if it's a red. And today's world is programmed. The pings, the bings, all the things, your brain is like, oh, I'm doing this, but I just got this notification. It's a 40% off sale ending tomorrow for this school uniform my kids need. This is a red. So it really comes down to starting to use this and say, okay, what is a red for me? Like what needs to be done today? What is a yellow? And that's always kind of fluid. And then what are your greens? And so the first step I tell people is always like, choose what your reds are, like your 5. And then also don't let the greens get in the way. So here's like a little quick tip. I call it BTSS, batch the small blank, or batch the small stuff, batch of small stuff if kids are listening, because the greens are like the little Compsognathus from Jurassic Park. Remember them? One little Compsognathus, those little tiny dinosaurs. Remember them? They're like the size of chickens. You're like, one little dinosaur. It's harmless. But as a pack, they were lethal. So create a BTSS folder in your inbox. And every time you get a request, sign up for this conference, buy this coach's gift, send this little thing, those little teeny things that you're like, oh, I can do that in 7 minutes. Well, our brain, we know that if you stop what you're doing to go do something else, it'll take you about 15 to 45 minutes to get back to the level of focus. So instead, don't. Drag and drop everything to your BTSS folder. Don't think about it. Don't you dare. And then when you are, sitting there with downtime, maybe you are like in carpool, which is where my soul goes to die. So when you're sitting in carpool, open up your BTSS folder, sit there, bang through it in those 30 minutes, and then you've gotten your greens done. So that's just like a little tip, how to get the little things done without messing up the important things.
That's a great tip. And I have to agree with you. Car line is where my soul goes to die. Like waiting in that car line. I don't do it anymore, actually. Both of my kids, like I don't even listen to the school. I'm such a rebel, even though I was like a past teacher. I'm like, no, I am not going in that car line. My kids, I'm going to drop them off at this park right next to the school that other parents are dropping their kids off at. And they're going to walk in. They're going to walk in. Like, why can't kids walk? I don't get it.
Living dangerously there.
Yep.
Dangerous. Joking.
My goodness. Well, I want to get to your other 2 tips in your system right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Close your eyes and take a ride with new Tic Tac Citrus Adventure. Awaken your senses with harmonies of sour and tangy fruit flavors. Picture the vibrant trio of mandarin, lemon, and lime as each flavor mingles to create a refreshing symphony. Pick up a pack and dive into new Tic Tac Citrus Adventure. Visit @TicTacUSA on social to share the good vibes.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/MBO.
Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is brought to you by PNC Bank, who believes some things in life should be boring, like banking, because boring is steady, pragmatic, responsible. You don't want your bank to be cool or sexy. Sexy is for red carpets, not banks. That's why PNC Bank strives to be boring with your money, so you can be happily fulfilled with your life. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. Brilliantly boring since 1865 is a service mark of the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Okay, so we just talked about triaging. Let's get into that second part, making systems. What kind of systems do you have right now in your home to make things easier?
Okay, so again, in the ER, we don't reinvent the wheel every time you have like an order set. We have kind of a system. So what I always tell people, what are the decisions that you're making the same way, whether that's every day, every week, every month, and then automate them as much as possible. Is just one tip to do that. So that includes things like subscribe and save, whether you're on Amazon or Target or whatever. What are those things you need to buy? Just put them on subscribe and save. They show up. My husband jokes that Jeff is an Amazon. He's like, oh, Jeff sent us more toilet paper today. It's like, hey, thanks, Jeff. And
I love subscribe and save.
They're like, who's Jeff and why is Jeff sending you things? We're like, oh, it's Bezos. It's okay. He just sends us things. So how often can you automate? Automate kids carpool driving, automate meal planning, anything you can. Again, if it gets it off of your plate, automate when you work out, any decision that you're making every single week, automate it. Really easy. Mm-hmm. It's just about how do I create systems that support what I'm trying to do versus get in the way of what I'm trying to do. Yeah. Again, like when I talk about like baby proofing, I talk about how do you put things into place, because the goal is not to be chasing your 15-month-old like I have around the house constantly being like, no, don't grab that, don't grab that, don't grab that, or creating a bubble around them. It's like, how do you put systems in place so you make specific areas safer, or what I call your turn your back spaces or baby jail, whatever you want to call them, where you can leave your baby can be there. They can be a little freer. They can roam around on their own. And you have peace of mind. So again, it's how do I create systems that support what I'm trying to achieve all day long? Little systems, big systems.
Yeah. And when you say automate, you're meaning like making it a habit so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to decide when to do it.
Exactly.
You don't have to like
somebody deliver it for you, or like it just shows up at your door for your toilet paper, paper towels, all those things. Automate as much as possible.
Yeah. That's delegate. Amazing. Delegate.
That's another tip. We're just doing one tip today. We're being high yield.
Yeah, no, anything you can get off your plate is great. Like, I think that works for household chores and routines as well, because a lot of our decision making goes into, sometimes we talk about the full house method, where you saw Danny Tanner in the kitchen creating the chore chart each week for every single one of the kids. And it's like, hold on, like that doesn't work. Like, let's automate this. Let's make it the same thing each time, so that you don't have to spend any decision-making power on it. Because
And if it's an automation for your kids and a routine for your kids, you're going to be yelling at your kids less to do it every night because they just know they have to do it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's like some kind of research that goes into like how many choices that humans can make in a single day before they go crazy.
You are exactly right, Joanne. The more decisions we make during the day, the more mental fatigue we get, and the worse the quality of decisions become, and the longer each one takes during the course of the day. So yes, I mean, that's why Steve Jobs, like at this basic, and Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. I'm not going to do that. That's a little extreme. We'll find some other ways to automate, but that is like, what are the decisions? How can you reduce them?
Yeah.
That's
I love that. Okay, let's talk about this third one, the mental one, because I think this is the one that I need the most help in, is the not like beating yourself up for the expectations, and like get into the right headspace about those things that you're dropping or those things that you're doing wrong. How do you even recommend people start with that?
So first, I think it's a mental shift on how we judge being busy, because at the same time, it's like, I'm so busy. I have so much to do. And to a certain extent, if you're not triaging well, then, okay, you're overly busy. We need to come help you triage. Let's do that. Let's create the systems. But you could have all those in place and you still feel that way. And sometimes it's just a pause. I realized in the ER, when I first started training, I was like, I want to see every patient. I can never get all the patients gone. And it was an understanding like, no, there will always be patients coming in. I'm never going to get to ER patient list 0. It's okay. I'm never going to get to inbox 0. I'm never going to get to to-do list 0, because if I did, like, what would I be living for if there was nothing else to do?
Okay, I have to throw this in.
Saying something.
Yeah, we all got the time to get the to-do list to 0. It was called COVID. You know, we're all locked in our houses and we still did. How many of us were like Brie? It was like, if I just had a week to not do anything. Well, COVID came and went, and that definitely wasn't the problem. So
that wasn't the problem.
Yeah, more COVID is not the solution. Exactly. The more lockdown. That's exactly it. And so sometimes it's looking like, oh yeah, I have a really full to-do list. And it's like, oh, but I actually love all these things. Sure, I could go back to before I had kids and I had no kid stuff on my to-do list, but I love that. Okay. I love, sure, I could not do television and not have to worry about my hair and makeup ever again, but I love that. So sometimes it's like, okay, it's busy, but it's not crazy busy.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And again, this is after you've triaged and put systems in place to make sure your list is actually manageable. And then the other thing, sometimes, you know, I talk about things come in, I'm like, you know, in the ER and it's single hand. I'm like, I can't handle another one. You're at that point and you realize you can't. And it's just a moment where you're thinking, I am the best person to handle this. They're calling me, they're coming to me because I am the best person, and let me rearrange things. Let me re-triage. Like, it's not crazy busy. Like, I can do this. Let me do it. And that's just kind of a mentality now of how I face things. And again, assuming that you have your priorities in place, you're not doing that all day long, but to say, okay, I'm the very best person to handle this. So let's go. Let me move things around so I can do it, and let's get this taken care of. And then if I don't, because we all mess up sometimes, then there is that rupture and repair and giving yourself grace, because all of us have days where it didn't go exactly as planned.
Yep. I feel like every day. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But if you remind yourself that, then you also realize the cost of being overwhelmed if you don't do it well one day is okay. It's like, that's human. That's fine.
It's fine.
And I think lowering the cost of like getting it wrong also helps.
I've been learning a lot that, like, sometimes I push myself way too hard and I don't even allow myself the time to rest. So recently, like, my son was in the hospital recently for some stomach problems, and he's fine now, but it caused a lot of stress in my life. And since that happened like 2 weeks ago, I've been very aware of how run down I was and how like to the point of overwhelm I was, and how like one thing really broke me. So just putting in those periods of rest and relaxation and watching like Flight Attendant on Max, like I was not giving myself the time to do something I enjoy, which is watching like really great TV and like stories and getting like into those.
You're so right, Jen. And sometimes it unfortunately takes us getting sick. So I got super, super sick from COVID. So I didn't have that week off, because eventually I developed heart failure and was going into cardiac arrest. Like, and I was still driving home from the ER, going into cardiac arrest on the side of the highway, having to get shocked on the side of the highway. So
oh my gosh,
that
trauma
is what caused me to. Well, yeah, I actually can't take that exit still. We just avoid it. We just exit early and we just drive around. It's fine. But that's what caused me, like, I ruthlessly triage. When I say triage is the first step, is I ruthlessly do so. And if there is something that I think doesn't need to be done or isn't important, I very much, in many ways, it like decreased my shoulds, because all those shoulds that we put on ourselves, going through all that forced, like, is this important? Is this worth me being stressed out? Is this worth me taking time away from my kids? So I think, ruthlessly triage, cut things, say, I'm going to take this time for myself, for my family, and it is okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like after going through also depression and anxiety, I tend to triage the stuff that you were talking about in your green level, like all of the stuff the school asks for, everything like that. I'm usually one of those parents who does not respond. I do not go in to volunteer. I don't do anything. I was a teacher, and I was a teacher at a very low income school where parents did not have that extra time to come into the classroom. And I made it work as a teacher. So I see that and I'm like, you know what? I'm so happy that parents have the time to do this. And also, like, I know that they can make it work without this parental involvement too. And I know these kids are going to be absolutely okay if I am not a parent volunteering in their class as well. So like those green things is okay.
It's beautiful.
It's okay to drop it. So what is something that you are excited about coming up for you, Dr. Darria?
So I am so excited about the launch of my course, No Panic Parenting. It is the first major baby safety, baby proofing course that's created by an ER doctor and mom. It launches it will launch by the time this airs. And I created it because baby number 3 was born last summer. And like you mentioned, he was way younger than the other 2. And I had to go back and re-baby proof my entire house. And by this point, I, had been a mom already for an extra 9 years. So I had that experience. I was less afraid that I was just going to break this baby. I'd been an ER doctor for 9 more years, seen that many more patients. And so many times you're just sitting there and you're like taking care of an injured child. And I'm looking at these distraught poor parents and this poor child. And I'm thinking, man, like, if I could have just talked to these people 2 hours ago, like we could have prevented this. Like we could have done that. Like we could have, if we had a time machine. And so finally I thought, and that's why I got into TV in the first place. But then I thought, I can create something just on this. And that's where the course came from. And so I'm super excited about it. I have really brilliant other pediatric health experts who are helping me review the content. It's super data driven, but designed to be like super helpful for parents. So I'm like, this is my time machine. Yay.
I love it.
That is so exciting. I'm going to recommend it to my sister. She has a 5-month-old right now. So we'll put that link in our show notes. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Darria. It has been wonderful, and we will talk to you later.
Just have to say, I know you said it in the intro, but I just love Dr. Darria's energy.
Yes.
You can tell, first of all, that she is super passionate about what she does and what she talks about. But at the same time, she's just fun. She's just, she would be part of our margarita group, I think. I think, honestly, if we could get her out to Phoenix, we would all be hanging.
I think she would be a wonderful part. So Dr. Darria, if you hear this, you're invited to our margarita group, which we need to have like another meeting up because we haven't for a while, actually.
I know. We need more. We need to bring back Margarita Mondays as the weather is getting nicer.
Margarita Mondays. I know, it's so funny. Like here in Phoenix, we're like, it's October, the weather's getting nicer. And like, I know if you're listening from the East Coast, you're like, what are those people on? But trust us here.
Right. As long as it's under like 109, it's a nice day.
It is actually low 100s.
We can start
nice.
emerging from our air conditioned cocoons again.
I greatly look forward to that because as we are recording this episode on October 1st, it is still 106 here in Phoenix, and it's just not fair. It's not.
And it was 117 like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
We're hoping. We're hoping. But going back to Dr. Darria, I love her energy. I love her passion. When we were finished, I even asked her, so since No Panic Parenting is a new venture, are you thinking about cutting back on the ER? And she's like, no, it grounds me. And I see it in you too. You do it a lot, or not do it a lot, but I hear you say it, how if you've been removed too long from interacting directly with people, you're like, I need another session. Like I miss being with people. And
I wish that teaching was like being an ER physician, like that you can come in and out of it like as much as you choose. I would love that. I would love to do 2 days a month in the classroom. That'd be my dream.
You could sub, but that's not going to be the same.
Not the same. It is not the same. When you're a sub, you see a totally different side of kids in the school.
Yeah,
because
like quality.
You have to go from school to school to school. So you're constantly like, it's the period that I hate the most about new situations. It's when you're building rapport with people and familiarity. That's the hardest part. Yeah. And the best part is when you have that rapport. So if you had like a situation where they all knew you and you just came in like twice a month, I'd be down with that. It'd be great.
Art. We need you to go back to teaching art to the elementary school here since we don't have art programs in our elementaries.
Yeah, I can't even do that because it's like I would want a whole day thing. It's too much segmented. You know how we're talking about overwhelm? Yeah. If I segment my time too much, I find like I do go into that brain crazy. Oh, yeah. I do much better if I could focus on something for like a few hours at a time. And work allows me to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, same. I have Monday, podcast day. Don't give me anything else, please. I'll cry. I'll cry. And it's not because I love what I'm doing. Not that I hate what I'm doing. I just can't change. Like it takes so much concentration.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I guess that is going back to my husband's comment about how he can focus on one thing at a time. I mean, that's a luxury that we don't get as moms at home. We get that at work. And I think that's why I enjoy work so much, because I get that focused brain time where I'm like, I have accomplished something here. And at home, you're like, I've prevented everything from burning to the ground, but I don't have like an accomplishment per se. It's a hard thing. I need both in my life.
Everybody is alive, and that is an accomplishment. Well, that's also like why I'm so excited about Dr. Darria's program, like the No Panic Parenting and the online course. It'll be so helpful because I did that for so many years, like both when I worked in the special needs area as well as when I worked in newborn follow-up at the hospital out here. Like it's those little things that there's so much information going at parents, I think, especially new parents, that they can't possibly catch it all. And you don't know what you don't know until something happens. So that's why I think that this course is going to be super helpful, because you can pick and choose and take what you need when you need it.
All the baby proofing. All the baby proofing.
And I think you were onto something about gifting this in the holiday season too. You know, someone who just had a baby or who's pregnant and going to have a baby, this is what they need. Not another set of burp cloths, not another like set of diapers. They need this. This is going to be hard to get in any other capacity.
Indeed. So until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy bomb. Take care of you, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
No one told us the truth about parenthood. Why? This is the podcast everyone needed before they had kids, because now that those little ones are here, there is a lot to unpack. I'm Rachel Shepherdota, and I am your host for the podcast No One Told Us, where we tell the truth about parenting and let you in on all the stuff you really should have known about before having kids. I am the founder of Hey Sleepy Baby, but this podcast is so much more than sleep. We'll be diving into all the topics that you really care about and need to know while you do your best job raising those adorable, tiny humans. Our goal is to just make you feel less alone and less overwhelmed. There are so many things that no one tells us before becoming a parent, and I think that we should really pull back the curtain on becoming a first-time or second-time mom or dad to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll have a little education, a little fun, and a whole lot of heart that goes into each and every episode. So join me and our amazing guests each week to hear us talk about what no one told us.